You to understand very well that if you corner me up to ask me the same question, I may answer in another way, depending on who you are and who exactly is asking the question. And the questions here are also hide and speak. Hide and speak. The owner of the question will hide their face somewhere and make me put my face here to answer it. So let's see what we can do. Number one, can mothers reject who their children want to marry? Can mothers reject who their children want to marry? Let me quickly say, mothers can reject who their children want to marry for so many reasons. Number one, if the prospective spouse is of bad character and if the person is irresponsible, no matter how much you say you love that person, your mother has the right to reject that person. Because there are some things your mother may see that and you can never see it. Your mother has been there before. After all, she married your father. So you can't tell her story about men. She knows better than you do. And the things she knows, even Google cannot tell you as much as she knows about men. Secondly, if such a person lack the deen, or the person hold on to dangerous belief system, if you know what I mean by that, a person may lack the deen completely, because Prophet ﷺ said, whenever a man comes to seek your daughter's hand in marriage, a man whose religiosity and character you have no objection to, you should allow him to marry your daughter. If you don't, then you spread facade on earth. The converse, this other side of it is, you marry a woman for 4 reasons, and the Prophet emphasized the aspect of religiosity. So if your mother sees that this person doesn't fit in to these qualities, or the person is actually a Muslim, but he holds on to some dangerous ideas, destructive akida, ideologies that are destructive. Some people who hold on to some opinions and divide themselves into certain sects that bring problems to the society, then your mother has the right to say, no, you shouldn't marry. Your mother also has the right, or your father has the right to reject the person if the relationship is based on deception. If the guy has come with 419 ideas, but you don't know, you do not realize it, and they get to detect it, they have every right to reject it. And number 4, if there are serious negative health implications and incompatibilities. What I mean by serious negative health implications is, when people say they are in love, they don't take into consideration some of these health situations of genotype and some other things that may make them not to be compatible health-wise. So your parents, whether mother or father, they have the right to reject some of these kind of relationships if they have seen these reasons. The other one that may be contestable is, what if these reasons are not there, they just don't like the person? They just don't like the person. Well, whether they can explain it or not, if they don't like somebody, I think, in my own opinion, you should be obedient to your parents, so long as what they are asking for is not something that is out of this world, it's not something that is haram, it's not something that is not redeemable. I hope you understand what I mean. If they just don't like the person, rather than go violent and turn your back against them, is the time when you have to be diplomatic and see how you can convince them. If they still insist that they will not accept, then you have to do mashwara. That is, you have to seek opinions and seek advice of elders who can speak to them in a way that they are going to understand. So don't go rebellious and don't go cantankerous against them. And if you like, quote hadith from now till tomorrow. If your mama doesn't like somebody, she may not listen to you at all. May Allah make it easy for us. Another question is, please give a recap of what to avoid, duties and the other one in marriage, the one we discussed yesterday. Yes, I say you should avoid the following in marriage. Avoid anger, because with anger comes resentment. With resentment comes hatred. People who are supposed to be in love, they begin to hate each other because of anger. Many marriages get destroyed when people are angry with each other and they are not ready to listen to one another. So anger is number one destroyer of marriages. Secondly, sadness. When there are too much of things that bring sadness in the marriage may go down. What is the opposite of sadness? Happiness. If you don't work hard to see how to make each other happy, then sadness will come in. So do make each other happy instead of promoting sadness against one another or within the marriage. And number 3, fear. Fear brings suspicion. Fear brings distrust. For example, what kind of a man puts password on his phone? What kind of a husband put password on his phone? Maybe he doesn't trust his wife, right? And what kind of a woman reads the husband's text messages? Maybe they don't trust each other. It is out of fear. Somebody will take my husband. Somebody will take my wife. Somebody is talking to my husband. Somebody is greeting my husband too much. Somebody is sending messages to my wife. It is out of lack of trust. Then we actually fear that we will lose each other, so we become overtly, exceedingly jealous and envious of one another. If you can avoid those 3 things, anger, sadness, and fear, then your marriage may have a good ending. And if you can imbibe 3 things, respect. We explained yesterday that there's nothing you cannot get from a man or do to a man if you do it with respect. And we said you can even abuse his mother if you have respect. He will not get angry. Because say, your mama is back again. She behaves like a witch sometimes. Allah Akbar. May Allah spare her life for us. If you do it with respect, you will not get angry. You will just smile. But there's no amount of care and love you show a man. If you don't show him respect, he will disregard everything you have done. If you give him the best of food, be able to cook like a dream. If you serve him food not without respect, he can even vomit that food. So if you learn how to respect a man, treat him like a king, reciprocity demands that he will treat you like a queen. So I want to emphasize that aspect of respect. It's not because you have gone to school, then your husband cannot talk to you again. But you as a man, if they respect you, you should respect yourself. You don't shout on a woman, you don't hit a woman that is respecting you. If you do that, you are offending Allah who commanded her to respect you. So when they respect you, God, respect yourself. Then you also need obedience. Yes, men love it that their women are obedient to them, and the men should also be obedient to Allah. It goes hand in hand. And then the third one is commitment. Many marriages, like I had said some time ago, that many people have divorced up to 5 or 6 times within 5 years. The only thing is that when people divorce like that, they marry each other again. The difference is some people marry somebody else. I'm just exaggerating. There are many things we do to each other that is tantamount to divorce. But because of commitment, we try to be patient. We offend each other and then we just forgive one another and move on. Some things we stomach and we endure are enough to lead to divorce. But when there's commitment, you may be able to just overlook it and let it go. How many fights make a marriage? Who knows the answer? How many fights make a marriage? You don't know the answer? Many fights. Boku. How many is boku? Plenty fight makes a marriage. You may quarrel, you may have issues, but with commitment, inshallah, the marriage will sustain. And another question is, the population of unmarried Muslim women today is alarming in Nigeria. The main reason is the men marry only one wife. How can you advise Muslims to help reduce this problem? I was trying to help some time ago and people were abusing me. Yeah, they said I was saying something 25% and everything. They abused me. They said I always promote polygamy. Now, you are asking this question. Now, what do you want me to say? It's obvious now. For men who have one wife, if they can afford it, if they have what it means and what it takes, if they can abide by the rules and regulations of Almighty Allah, then there is provision for them to do so if they so desire. It's not all of those that are capable of doing that should do it, or that can do it. One man's food is another man's poison, and one man's leather bag is another man's pomo. What they use for leather bag in one place is pomo in another place. So it is very hard to tell you openly, generally like this, that men should go. Some men cannot do it, even if they want to do it, by virtue of some of the things. Somebody who cannot even settle quarrel between two sisters. You cannot settle quarrel between two people. Will he now be able to have two wives or more than one wife? Solutions to some problems are problems on their own. So if you cannot do it, please, it's not compulsory. But for those who can do it and they feel they can do it, may Allah make it easy for them. The reason why I step down like this is that if we ask all single ladies to stand up now and all single brothers to stand up, you will see the number may almost be the same. If we now say, okay, single brothers marry single ladies now, they'll start telling you stories. You see, actually, nevertheless, so therefore, we just met today, I need to think about it, I want to be Istikhara, I want to... So sometimes you don't even know which side to stay myself sometimes. See brothers, look at ladies here that you can marry, then they will be quoting hadith. May Allah have mercy on us. Ladies too, when they see the brothers eventually, she will just be doing Istikhara. Be like, actually, Ustaz, I need to think about it. When she has looked at him from north to south and said that this one doesn't seem to have anything. Or if the brother tells the truth too much, she will just use style to backslide. Probably like, actually, I work in Pussy Market, I'm doing clearing and forwarding. You see, I have this wheelbarrow I use for clearing and forwarding. This wheelbarrow is not really my own. I get it from somewhere. I normally make returns. Sometimes 200 naira, sometimes 400 naira. And inshallah, I'm hoping that one day I'll have my own wheelbarrow and be a man of my own. Will you marry me? She was already deciding to receive you. Shebi, you said you want to marry now. Look at the man here now. And so they say there's more. Another reason people give is that we have more ladies than men. Is it true? You believe it? No, I don't want to accept it. You know why? Because it's not that we have more ladies than men. It is just that we have more marriageable ladies than we have marriageable men. Do you get that gist now? Okay, Meruwa is not a man. Megad is not a man. We have more men that are not marriageable to the kind of ladies we have, that have gotten so much tarbiyah, so much upbringing, their parents invested so much on them. And sometimes we will now say, okay, marry, we look at some of the brothers, will be like, can this one really take good care of this lady? I'm not preaching materialism, but I believe that brothers, we need to, you know what I mean now? You should just step up a little. It's not easy for those parents to release their daughters to you after they have suffered and given them all they have given to them. Some of them will not buy clothes, they will not buy dresses like other women. They will spend it on their daughters so that she'll get the best of education. One guy will not show up with earpiece and his head will be swinging from side to side like this. So what do you want to marry your daughter? What do you do? I'm a businessman. Or sometimes you say, I'm into business. Doing something by myself. They can't trust you if you continue that way. May Allah forgive us. Yes, something they said, it's a lot of questions. Please forgive me, I don't even know which one to pick. They said hijab is recommended for a Muslim lady, but can a lady wear anything that ensures her aura is fully covered? Or hijab is particularly a must? Hijab is compulsory for a mature Muslim lady, and there's no other thing we can say about that. If your mind is not inclined to it, you should pray to Allah to make it easy for you. Don't you see other ladies, the way they wear the hijab? They are more beautiful, more respectable in that. If you feel you are not able to do so yet, please try. Make effort. May Allah make it easy for you. One lady was wearing wigs the other time, and we said, but wig? She said, but I'm covering my head now. I'm covering my head with the wigs. See how people use Akida to, deride the deed. Don't do that. Fear Allah. We all know what is right to do, and we should all try and make effort. It is strongly recommended. It is in fact compulsory for a Muslim lady. Wear your hijab as decently and as modestly as you can. I saw one lady in one part of the country I don't want to mention. She was wearing her hijab quite alright, but she was wearing a t-shirt that showed her belly, and she was wearing tight jeans. And she would think she's wearing hijab. I think in as much as we are not the judge of that, we like people to be serious with their deen. Everywhere in the world now, people take their religion seriously. People who are Christians, they are getting born again. People who practice Islam, they are wearing their hijab very well with fashion. No matter how brilliant you think you are, you see a lady that is more brilliant than you, and she wears her hijab very well. And no matter how beautiful you are, there are ladies who are much more beautiful than you, and they still wear their hijab. So which one you get now? Then somebody says, Sheikh, I want to get married, but I'm not financially stable. Do I have to be financially stable before I can marry her? If they give me their daughter, go. Financial stability is very important. If you don't have a job, you should marry. Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Ya ma'ashara shabab, man istata'a minkum al-ba'a falyatazawwaj." Oh, you young people, any of you that has reached the age of marriage and is able to maintain a family, let him get married. And it is said that if you cannot marry, then you should fast. And keep fasting until when Allah provides for you enough to be able to start a family. I'm not saying you should have it all, but enough to start a family. And this is very, very important. In fact, the Quran also promises that even if they happen to be poor, Allah is going to enrich them from His wealth. You see, there's a limit, there's an equilibrium. You have to be matured, that is mentally stable, physically stable, and you have to have that financial stability of at least a source of income for yourself. I hope you understand. Some of the brothers will say they want to get married, but they are still living with their mothers. Nobody is going to take you seriously like that. Some of them, you say, okay, you want to marry, where do you live? You say, I live, you see, if you get to Maraba, you move forward. After that, there's one place towards the right. Keep going, you don't stop there. Then when you move forward a bit, you get to one man village. After one man village, you move like 16 kilometers off the road. So there are about 5 or 6 trees of palm trees there. Count about 3 of them, then turn towards the left. When you go towards the left, you move in, then you ask for so and so place. When you ask for the place, they will now describe it to where somebody will take you to where I live is staying. And the place where I'm living actually, alhamdulillah, there are about 6 of us that are managing the room. And then there's a place where I have my dresses, and there's a way where I have my mattress. I also keep my sponge and my toothpaste and everything in this other place. But anytime you want to see me, just call. I'll come and meet you. And that person comes want to marry your daughter, you will not take him serious. So make necessary preparation, even if it is one room that you are managing. Anybody whose daughter you want to marry will know that at least from there you move somewhere. So you can't still be living with your mother is the one cooking for you, your younger sisters are the one washing your clothes, and then you say you are ready to marry. Say it in English. Someone said, what's the penalty of the married woman that kisses a non-mahram? It's not a matter of penalty as if we are going to flog her or something like that. We all know that this is not acceptable, this is haram. Whoever has done that should make tawbah, repent, and please desist from doing such a thing. May Allah make it easy for us. There are many more questions, but I'm afraid I may have to stop here in case if there's any other opportunity, we may be able to answer them as Allah will permit us. May Allah forgive us wherever we are wrong. May Allah continue to guide us right in all our ways. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa baraka ala mab'uth rahmatan lil alameen. Nabiyyina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. You have to be dutiful. Not due with a D. You have to be dutiful to your parents. And you also have to be respectful, diplomatic, and obedient. If you see something that is wrong, you have to try to advise them with diplomacy, with politeness, with kindness, with a lot of compassion. Unlike a lot of the youths nowadays, When they advise their parents, they talk from their ivory tower, expressing to their parents indirectly that you are ignorant, you don't know the religion, I'm more knowledgeable than you. No one will accept this from you. Show your humbleness to your parents, your humility. Show your compassion and love to them, and advise them. They don't comply, they don't listen, you've done your due diligence. That's enough. Make dua to them a lot in the last third of the night and while prostrating, that Allah guides their hearts. If they abuse you, accept that and embrace it. Because the Prophet ﷺ was abused by all of his people, so you are not better than him. But don't shove it down their throats. Try to advise. If don't accept, refrain.
Second question says, how are the people of the Amazon, in bracket people with no civilization, how will they be judged? People with no civilization.
I've never been to the Amazon, so I think maybe we should make a tour down there and make a peace and unity conference. I have no idea. See, the people, Allah Azza wa Jal told us in the Quran, وَمَا كُنَّا مُعَذِّبِينَ حَتَّى نَبْعَثَ رَسُولًا. We will not torment a nation until we send them a prophet, a messenger. So this torment either is meant by it that Allah will not send a thunderbolt or make the earth swallow them, like the people of Ad, Nuh, Lut, etc. Or it is meant that on the day of judgment they will not be thrown into hell without being shown previously the right way of worshipping Allah. And this is what whom they call Ahlul Fatra, the people of the period where there were no messengers. And there are authentic hadiths that those living, whether in the Amazon or in Alaska or in the jungles or in Siberia, where there is no media, there are no Muslims, they can't know anything about the religion. There are hadiths that Allah Azza wa Jal, on the day of judgment, they will object. Oh Allah, I didn't know that Islam was this and that. Oh Allah, I did not meet your messenger. I was either deaf, I was not able to understand. So those who did not receive the message, Allah Azza wa Jal would ask a neck, N-E-C-K, a neck from hellfire to come out with an open mouth, and Allah will tell them, enter it. Those who are believers, because they've seen heaven and hell, they will say, Sami'na wa ata'na, and they will enter it, and it will take them directly to paradise. Those who are by nature defiant and not willing to submit their will to Allah, they say, hey, what is this? This is hell. You want me to go to hell with my own feet? No, I'm not going. It will take them to hell because they are disbelievers, and Allah knows best.
Why is it that Allah uses in the Quran we when He is the only creator? For example, Surah Al-Waqi'ah.
This is a linguistic way in Arabic, and it's found in other languages, that the pronoun of plural is used to glorify and magnify the person speaking. So if I were, for example, a ruler, a king, a sultan, I would say, we have decreed that so and so will take place. People say, excuse me, who are you? When you say we, said we. Said, yeah, this is French, as in yes, or si, as in Spanish. No, we means I. So say I. But this is found in many languages, and Arabic is one of them, that we use the plural pronoun we to glorify and magnify the speaker.
Is a woman supposed to pray with her socks on always?
This is an issue of dispute. Some schools of thought, like the Hanafi school of thought and others, say that the foot is not awrah of a woman. And the vast majority of scholars say that the foot of a woman in prayer is awrah. So she's only permitted to unveil her face. I've seen people everywhere, not here. I've seen women wearing this that covers only the hair, and you can see their ears and their neck and parts of their chest. What is this? This is hijab. What kind of hijab? This is he without the hijab. What is this? A new religion. Every country I go to, I see a new religion, but it is not related to Islam. You as a sister, you can expose your face, which is the upper thing, not the chin, not the neck, and your palm of the hands. I've seen so many hijabi women, sisters, coming and saying, "How are you, Sheikh?" And they do this. Ukhti, what is this? This is not awrah. You have to cover your arm, the whole arm, until the wrists. This is what's halal. Anything that's below that is haram. You have to put buttons, you have to put handcuffs, whatever you want to do. That's up to you. But follow the sunnah. Follow Allah's legislation. This is not my religion. This is the religion from the Quran, from Allah, through the Quran and the sunnah. So, yes, a woman should be covered all the way. Now, she wants to wear socks. Good for you. She wants to wear a long dress that when she's standing reaches the ground and nothing of her feet is showing. This is also permissible without any problem.
If Allah is merciful, why do small children fall severely ill and are innocent? Why did He destroy some nations?
When you say if Allah is merciful, you make the hair on my body stand. Are you doubting that? If you are not a Muslim and you're doubting it, well, wait a few years until you die and then you will see. You get the answer. If you're a Muslim, then you should know that everything in this universe belongs to Allah. Correct? Anyone doubts this? We all agree that everything belongs to Allah. If I were to get 1,000 naira, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, and I burn it in front of you, can any one of you object? No, it's my money. So if Allah would throw us all in hell, will you object? Can you object? Would your objection have any value? No. But Allah would not do this. Why? Because you and I believe Allah is fair. Allah is just. Allah is knowledgeable. Allah is wise. Allah is strong. Allah owns everything. You believe in this? Yes, I believe. Then do not doubt Allah's actions, rather doubt your own intellect. When Allah afflicts children, poor, innocent infants, with diseases, with illnesses, and maybe with death, this is His judgment. He has a better and far further wisdom that we cannot see. My child loves me. My child adores me. My child has trust in me. He has stomachache. The doctor says it's the appendix, we have to remove it. So I tell my child, everything is going to be fine. So he believes me. We go to the hospital. He changes his clothes into the surgery clothes. Said, what's happening? Said, everything is going to be fine. And then they come and clean the area with, whatever they use, this iodine or whatever. And then he sees a masked man with a knife coming towards him, and another one wanting to put a mask or something on his face, and he wants to fight. And I say, everything is going to be fine. What will he say? Excuse me, I doubt your judgment. You may have the pleasure in lying on bed and everything is going to be fine. The guy is going to cut me up open. Everything's going to be fine. But actually, everything is going to be fine. The child does not have the intellect to understand where you're coming from or where the surgeon is coming from. Now, Allah has the highest example. When something of such a magnitude happens to a child or to an innocent people, Allah has wisdom behind that. You and I don't know it. They say, what doesn't kill you makes you, MashaAllah, tabarakallah, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So maybe this is for the good of the child. He becomes much stronger, immune to illnesses, and maybe not. This was a test for you as a parent. And the child is inevitably in Jannah, inshallah. So there's no worry about him. So always think positively about Allah Azza wa Jal. Why would Allah destroy nations? Why not? He's Allah. If He wants to destroy the whole of this world, no one can ask Him. So again, He destroyed them because Allah gave them warnings, sent messengers to them, showed them the right way, and they refused to comply. Then they should get what they were promised. And Allah knows best.
Am I expected to do kafara, that's 60 fast, if the patient I am operating on dies in the surgery table?
So this is a doctor.
Yes.
I hope he's not the one who was operating on the child a moment ago.
No.
Then the guy would say, no, everything is going to be fine. No, if a doctor exerts his efforts and operates within the policy and procedure, and other doctors say, yes, he's qualified, his diagnosis were correct, and the procedure he followed in the surgery were up to date, and he did not do any mistake, there is no kafara.
Is a middleman in the market. I don't have the product, but I know someone who does. Can I, as a middleman, buy the product and add a little profit to someone who wants to buy?
Now this issue is called either commission or selling what you do not possess. I'm a middleman. Abdullah comes and says, I'd like you to buy me this mobile phone. And I go to Muhammad. Muhammad tells me, I have this mobile phone. It costs X amount of money. I go back to Abdullah and I say, I found your phone, but I will buy it for you, and my commission is XYZ. Are you happy? I'm not selling it to you. I'm buying it for you on your behalf with a well-known commission. He says, yes, go ahead. I buy it and I bring it to him. Then this is halal. Why? I did not sell him anything I do not possess. I am merely an agent taking a fixed percentage. It is 5, 10, 15, 20, whatever. He agreed, no problem. What's haram is what is known as drop shipping, and a lot of the Muslims are doing it. So I know that you want to buy a car. I do not possess the car. And I know that this person has that particular car. So you say, Wallahi, I'm interested in that car. And I say, okay, I'll sell it for you for XYZ. Agree? You say, I agree. Give me down payment or give me the full amount. So he gives me the full amount or some of it. I go and purchase the car and I then deliver it to him. This is haram. Hakim ibn Hizam, may Allah be pleased with him, the nephew of Khadija bint Khuwaylid, may Allah be pleased with her, the first wife of the Prophet ﷺ, said, the Prophet prohibited selling what you do not possess. When you sell something you do not own and possess, there is no risk on you. And there is a possibility that you will fail in delivering the merchandise as promised. So this is not halal. When there is risk, your profit becomes halal. So how to rectify this? You want to buy the car? I know you want to buy the car. I go and buy it from my own money. Now it's in my name. I have the car. I have the keys. And I come to you. I say, listen, look at my car. Would you like to buy it? 90% you would say, yes, I'm still interested. And he'll buy it from you. There is a 10% possibility he says, I didn't think the color would be like this green. I don't want it. Oops, what do you mean you don't want it? I'm stuck with the car. I didn't tell you to buy the car. I told you I'm interested in it. So in this case, there is liability on me and I'm stuck with the car. Either I can find someone to buy it with a profit or sell it with the capital or even lose something in it. This is halal trading and Allah knows best.
Final question, Sheikh. Please, can you advise on celebration of nikah? As celebration of nikah, wedding.
Okay, what do you want me to advise you about?
He said the gathering, the mode of celebration, the over elaborate spending.
See, this is cultural thing. We cannot come to countries and say, listen, you have to do exactly what I tell you. This is a cultural thing, but we have guidelines in Islam. Guideline number 1, it is the man's responsibility to take charge of all expenses from A till Z. So the man is supposed to pay for the dowry, he's supposed to pay for the house, he's supposed to pay for the furniture, he's supposed to pay for the walima. And this is the feast we acknowledge for the marriage. It's called the walima. Now, to be extravagant is haram. The Prophet ﷺ, when he met Abdurrahman ibn Auf, one of the 10 heaven bound, and he found that he looks a little bit neat, he said, what is this? You look strange. He said, oh Prophet of Allah, he fixed his tie, he didn't have a tie. So I got married. So the Prophet, mashallah, how much did you pay dowry? He said, a seed of gold. He said, La ilaha illallah, subhanallah, as if you are digging it from a mountain. This much? So the Prophet ﷺ did not like the amount of dowry he gave, because a seed of a date this heavy of gold, that's a lot. So extravagance is not permitted in Islam. Pay something within reason. But if you're rich, you want to give 1 billion naira, no problem. This is your problem. Now, he told him, alayhi salatu wasalam, to slaughter a walima of 1 ram. So you have a lot of guests, you want to slaughter 10 rams, no problem, as long as they will eat it, not throw it. But don't make it an event of showing off. So going to a 5-star hotel and paying an arm and a leg for such a wedding only to get your daughter divorced after a couple of weeks, what a waste of money, a bad investment. Rather, make it private, make it in a small house, and put all this money in the couple's hands to build a house, to buy property, to do whatever investment they want to do. This is all catered by the groom, the man. Some cultures, the groom, when he makes the wedding party, he invites 10 or 20 only from the bride's family, because he's paying, and I'm announcing it through my friends and my relatives, and I have 150 of them. I can't afford to invite all of your family, then you've got a big tribe. In this case, some cultures, there's no problem for the bride's family to say, listen, we would like to contribute half of the amount so that we can have another 150 guests of our own. So this is permissible and there's no problem in that, inshallah. As for what happens in weddings, nowadays, it's not only weddings. Everything in your life. You have to come out of your life and redecorate it to fit with Islam. Your life is a big picture. Islam is the frame. A real Muslim comes to the frame, which is Islam, puts it in the picture and cuts all loose ends. The frame fits the picture, the frame, Islam, fits your life. Muslims nowadays don't like this. They want something contemporary. So they come and they place the frame on the picture. But the picture has so many hobbies, desires, things that in my life I don't want to cut loose. I don't want to get rid of. So what to do? Okay, let's break the edges of the frame and bring duct tape and maybe some pieces of wood and restructure the frame so that it would fit the picture. And at the end, as an end result, the frame does fit the picture. But this is not Islam. This is a new religion. Follow the Quran, the Sunnah, with the understanding of the companions, of the Sahaba, of the Tabi'een, of the Tabi'een, and you will be with them on the Day of Judgment. Decide to do otherwise, you will be with those whom you've decided. It is unacceptable for a Muslim to come and say, like a Shafi'i, Imam Shafi'i, may Allah have mercy on his soul. He said, the Prophet ﷺ said so and so. He narrated a hadith. A man stood up and said, okay, Imam, what do you say? He was outraged. He said, do you think I'm a priest? Do you see me coming out of a church? I say the Prophet said, ﷺ, and you're asking me, what do you say? A'udhu billah. Therefore, look at your weddings. Whatever is correct and valid in accordance to Quran and Sunnah, go ahead. Don't care about the culture. People have different cultures. But if in your weddings there is mixing, men and women, this is haram, taboo. Because the Prophet ﷺ segregated the community. And in the prayer, it's the biggest example. If your weddings have music, music is haram by the consensus of the four schools of thought. And before of that, the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ in Bukhari and Abu Dawood, it is something that you don't have to even mention. Unfortunately, sometimes we do have to mention because some of those who claim to have knowledge may permit it. And I say, okay, you permit it on your own, but I follow the Prophet ﷺ, I'd like to be with him. The only thing you're allowed to have in weddings is what? Duf. So women can sing to women, and women can listen to the duf, and they may dance as well, but it has to be segregated. Other than that, the sky is the limit.
Jazakumullahu khairan, Shaykh.
Jazakumullahu khairan.
Who bless us to be united here. I first would like to thank all of you for taking your time to come here. I know Sunday is an off day in Abuja. You see that in the highway, there's not a single car, mashallah. One of the mashayikh was saying, I love Sundays because there's nobody out in the streets, everybody's at home. So alhamdulillah, we thank all of you for attending and making and taking your time to come here, especially with your families. I myself, this is my first time, alhamdulillah, I've been very happy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us to come here and see you all and visit Abuja, inshallah. This is not the first or the last trip, inshallah. I'd also like to thank the organizers, mashallah, they did an amazing job, the volunteers. Allah bless them and their families, and all of you. First question, inshallah, that I've received here is a question which we leave off this, subhanAllah, the same kind of question that Sheikh Al-Sad was discussing. I have a bad addiction of listening to music. I feel ashamed of this. What measures can I take to stop? So with regards to music, a lot of us need to understand the level of reality of this topic as well. Many of world cultures use music to get a message across and to maybe get people to reflect on their emotions. And a lot of people are very attached to the concept of music. There's many scholars that discuss music. It even was in the time of the Sahaba all the way till now. There's many great scholars which discuss it. And the way the scholars used to discuss it is how your heart is attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and how can it be attached to other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they made it a spiritual discussion mostly, not a discussion of sometimes the ruling in ahkam. Imam Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he said, al-qalbu baytu rabbi jalla jalaluhu. He said the heart is the sanctuary of Allah. This is where you have all of the attachment to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, so don't attach yourself to something that will take you away from Allah. Look at the way the scholars worded it. So when someone is so attached to something that it takes them away from Allah Azza wa Jal, this becomes problematic, not just music, but anything. Anything. It can lead even, for example, a man or a woman who has so much love, that this love leads them away from Allah. This love will make them miss salah. This love will make them, almost as if seeking the pleasure of that person over the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one of the things that we need to do is to increase our love and our connection with Allah Azza wa Jalla. The more you're connected with Allah, the more you want Allah's pleasure. The more you are connected with what Allah guides us, the more Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's rulings and what He wants and His commandments and His prohibitions become beloved to us, become more important to us than things that we want, things that we like. And remember, on this topic, the scholars agree that listening to music is not a major sin. There's an ijma', there's a consensus. So sometimes what happens is we make an issue out of a haram, and we think that this is the main aspect where all of Islam is focused on. And I call it the 5 M's of confusion. Okay? The 5 M's of confusion. 5 things that many of the Muslim community, they over-focus on. These are important things, but they make it such that as if the entire religion is surrounded around these 5 things. And these 5 things are usually in a Muslim minority country, like America or Britain, for example. The number one issue people argue about in America and these places is meat. Okay? Is the meat halal? Is the meat not halal? And this is like the biggest thing. I always ask questions about meat. Number 2, music. Music. Sheikh, is music halal or is music haram? Number 3, madhab. Sheikh, should we follow a madhab? Should we not follow a madhab? Number 4, moon. I call it moon fighting, not moon sighting. When does Ramadan start? When does it end in the Muslim Ummah? And we have a fight and discussion over it. Okay? And there's more M's, right? Marriage is a big M everyone asks about. Okay? The mawlid, the birth of the Prophet ﷺ is a big M. How does it make sense, my brothers, my sisters, that we're fighting over how we love Rasulullah ﷺ? Does this make sense to you? How is it that we're fighting over an aspect which is a part of Islam, but we make such a huge deal out of it, it has actually led people to split the family? Or even worse, arguments with their spouses. So we have to understand this in context. We're a faith that always takes into consideration there is an action part of Islam, and there is also the ruh, the objectives of Islam. So we don't lose our Islam based on finding a spirit and there's no action. And we also don't focus on such a mechanic that we lose the spirit and purpose behind things. When it comes to the question of your addiction, this is more of a problem than simply saying, I listen to music. What is it that you're addicted to? What is your heart taking you away from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? The first question that we always have to ask ourselves is, how am I with the salah? How am I with the one thing that is the most important thing in Islam? As-salah imaduddin. The prayer is a pillar of the faith. So this is the first and foremost thing. How are you with your prayer? There was a man in Houston, Texas. He came to me and he said, I need to speak to you, Shaykh. I said, Tafadhal. He started to cry. And he said, my daughter has taken off her hijab, and I want you to speak to her. So I let him finish everything that he's saying. And then I said, I want to ask you a few questions before, I take your, request. Number 1, what is your relationship with your daughter? Do you spend time with her? Do you take her out on dinner dates? Do you tell her that she's beautiful? Do you make her feel comfortable to share her views and maybe her fears and some of the experiences that she goes with? Do you show her love? And he was quiet. I said, another question. How is her prayer? Does she pray regularly? He said, no. I said, do you know what you're asking me? You're asking me, like many of these questions that we sometimes receive, you're asking me to put a band-aid on a wound when there's a tumor in the heart. You want to cover the wound, but not deal with the tumor. You know what the tumor is? Our distance from Allah Azza wa Jal. Our connection with Allah that will heal all of these wounds. And I wanted him to realize something. Your relationship with your family and how you speak to people is more important than sometimes some acts which are not okay. You know why? Because if you are somebody they trust, they love, they know that you're genuine, you care about them, then they will want to come to you for your advice. But if you're sitting like a person on a holy man on a hill or a holy woman on a hill and throwing texts at the people down below, no one will trust you. No one will believe you. And Nabi alayhi salatu wasalam for 40 years spent in Medina guarding the trust of people because of his akhlaq, because of his manners with people, how he dealt with them. So when it comes to this issue, you ask yourself, where is the tumor in my heart? How is it distancing myself from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? How is my salah? More importantly, what is on your playlist? Who is on your playlist? Is the Quran even on there? Is it the top 10? Is the Quran even part of your life? Imam al-Hasan al-Basri, he said something beautiful like we mentioned earlier today. He said, whoever wants to know themselves, let them show themselves to the Quran. How much is your interaction with it? Do you have on your playlist a qari? Not just listening, but understanding the Quran. Do you have the tafsir of the Quran in your playlist? Are you listening to it? Are you understanding more? Is it implementing in your life? No, then you have to ask yourself, how much of this is beneficial? Not only that, how much of this is distancing you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? So the practical things is number one, increase your relationship with Allah. Increase. You can't tell somebody don't do something and it's not replaced with something. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, always when somebody came to ask him a question, he would say, listen, do this is better for you. So, slowly take away from your playlist and add to it Quran, add to it Islamic lectures, add to it beneficial things that will make you, inshallah ta'ala, more connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the more you're connected with Allah, you won't have time for anything that distracts you from Him. Trust me. You won't, your body starts to feel discomfort. But this starts to build slowly and surely, inshallah ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us. How do you differentiate a ma'lam from a magician? Allahu Akbar. Because most of all of these ma'lams around are misleading people into shirk. And how does someone go back after realizing his ma'lam is more of a magician? Brothers and sisters, we have to be very careful where we take our faith from. Very careful. One of the great scholars, Muhammad ibn Sirin, said, look who you take your faith from, you ask your questions. Because this religion is based on the Prophet ﷺ said, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. Look carefully to who you take your faith from. Don't go just to someone else, some random person you don't know. Because they may mislead you and they may harm you. They may harm you. Go to your scholars, your local scholars, Shaykh Abdul Fattah, and also the Ulama Council of Nigeria, the Sharia board. Go to your ulama and ask them. Don't go to random people. Don't, what we call milkshake discussions. You know the milkshake discussion? You gather around, everyone has a milkshake in their hand, everybody's a scholar. I think this, you think that. I give fatwa on this, you give fatwa on that, and nobody knows. Nobody knows, nobody has studied, nobody's qualified. Go to people who have these characteristics. Number one, they are qualified. Ask where they studied. Do you have a degree in Sharia? Who are your teachers? Where did you study from? We have something called an isnad, a chain of learning in Islam. I learned from teachers, from their teachers, from their teachers. I go all the way to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Does the person that you're seeking, does he have that? Does he have, or does she have that? Where did they study? Number two, the attitude of the person is very important. Don't go to people who are divisive. All they do is talk about how somebody is on Islam or off of Islam. Their demeanor is negative. All they speak about is how somebody's actions are completely wrong or they're right. These type of people you should stay away from. Why? Because they will change you, make you toxic as well. Number 3, someone that is relevant to you, your day-to-day life. If someone's speaking like they're on Mars or a different planet, how are they going to be relevant to your life? Right? So alhamdulillah, you have many scholars here, many scholars. Go to them, and especially, I want to warn my sisters and my brothers from people that will offer you some kind of spiritual or divine solution. This is very dangerous. The only spiritual divine solution we have is dua. You raise your hands to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no easy formula for getting married or trying to win somebody's love or having children. The formula is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَقُلْ تُسْتَغْفِرُوا رَبَّكُمْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ غَفَّارًا يُرْسِلِ السَّمَاءَ عَلَيْكُمْ مِدْرَارًا وَيُمْدِدْكُمْ بِأَمْوَالٍ وَبَنِينَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, in the story of Nuh alayhi salam, he says to his people, I say to you, do constant istighfar. Istighfar, saying, Astaghfirullah, I seek forgiveness from Allah and I return to Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will grant you children and will grant you wealth and will send rain from the skies. So this is a true story. My teacher, from Medina, he told me this. He said that there's a lady that she got recently divorced. She was widowed. Excuse me, not divorced. She was widowed. And she didn't know where to get her money. How would she make ends meet? So Shaykh said, do istighfar and work as much as you can. Inshallah, take care of your children. But do istighfar. So she said, and the number is not important, but this shows you how much the lady was doing istighfar. She said she would do istighfar 4,000 times a day. While she was cleaning, while she was taking care of her children. She said 6 months later, a man from the former job of her husband came, knocked on the door and gave her a letter and said, this is from the company of your husband. We just wanted to make sure that you all are taken care of, with a check of, I believe, over 100,000 riyals. Allah blessed this woman in her wealth. She said, I would have never imagined. مَنْ لَزِمَ الْإِسْتِغْفَارِ يُرْزِقُهُ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. Who sticks to istighfar, Allah will bless them from areas where they never imagined. And another one of my teachers, personal teacher, he said that Allah tested them. They didn't have children for 9 years. 9 years. So he said, we tried everything. Obviously, Allah tells us if there's a disease or something that is wrong, you go to the doctor. You don't say, okay, Allah will give you from the sky. No, of course not. You go take the meat. So he said, we went to the doctor. The doctor said, there's nothing wrong. Absolutely nothing wrong. Nothing wrong with the man, nothing wrong with the woman. It's just from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they said they started to do istighfar, and he said 12,000 times a day. Again, the number is not important. I'm just telling you the story. It can be any time. 12,000 times him and his wife. Allah blessed them with children and 9 others. 9 others. What is the secret? One thing. Your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that whatever happens to you is in His wisdom and that He wants the good for you. Allah is preparing your happiness. Maybe that's why you're here. Allah is preparing your future, even if you don't have children. Remember, Aisha never had a child. Remember that. Everything you base your life on is in trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us that kind of trust. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us away from the harms of this dunya and akhirah, and from those who are misleading others with the clothes of religion. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to keep us away from them and to guide us to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam sunnah, and to bless us with his companionship. Wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam.
I think you gain weight automatically with this. MashaAllah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is historic, right? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, most gracious, most merciful. We thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this chance to meet. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless every one of us. I want to start off by thanking my beloved brother, the chairman of the Nigerian Hajj Commission, who gave me the pieces of cloth a few days ago, Al-Hajj Abdullah Al-Mukhtar. Thank you so much. And immediately within a few hours, Brother Ahmad from the Amdo collection happened to tailor it for me. So they told me, we need you to wear it. I said, I will. They said, no, before you leave. I said, I will. They said, no, in public. I said, okay, I will. They said, no, at the convention. So it started becoming more and more. I think it's a Nigerian thing. When you say okay for one thing, they ask for another. You say okay for another thing, they ask for a third. I'm so happy to be here. May Allah bless you. We are all brothers and sisters, and mashallah, it is extremely comfortable. I am here to do the Q&A session. But the first question that I want to actually highlight today is the question of a brother who is saying something that is very unique. And it's tough at the same time, it's really difficult also, because it has in it a few issues. The question is, I have to marry one of 3 girls. I love all 3 of them. I want to marry one without the others feeling cheated. What should I do? Right, I want to ask you, because obviously now that we are speaking simply to Nigeria, what is the Nigerian response of this? What would the men say? What should he do? Can you say it loudly? What should he do? Did you hear what they said? Do you agree with their answer? Do you agree with their answer? Okay, my answer is, brother, if you are in the crowd and you are, stand up and resolve your problem now. Is that fair? Resolve your problem now. The sisters are either here or they are not here. At least they will understand you don't want to hurt them. If you have already developed that relationship, it is bound to hurt. May Allah forgive us. May Allah strengthen us. Remember one thing, until and unless a man has not come forth to actually propose, don't have hope in that proposal. Did you hear what I said? Until and unless a man has not come forth to propose, don't have hope in that proposal. People change their minds at any time. Even after marriage, they can change their minds and divorce. Even after you loved each other, people divorce. It's not wrong to change your mind, but it's wrong to lead someone on with a promise that was clear in no uncertain terms that I will marry you, and then you walk off. If you walk off, one might argue, well, I didn't marry them, it was okay to break it. But the thing is, we gave our hearts before we were supposed to give them. I've always said, that some of you might have heard this, that your heart and your mind are 2 of the most powerful organs. The heart and the brain are 2 of the most powerful organs you have. Never ever give anyone those 2 besides Allah. Don't donate them to someone. Don't donate your heart to anyone. Don't donate that brain to anyone, the mind to anyone. These 2, they belong to Allah. The minute you've given your heart to someone else, they will have the ability to break you and destroy you and actually lead you into such suicidal thoughts, or even worse. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. Take control of your heart. Reclaim your heart, as we always say. Make sure that it's well within where it is supposed to be. Promises, everyone can make a promise. I love you. The dunya can say it. They say it so much. You've heard me say before that nearly all of us, myself included, when we are typing, we type LOL, LOL, right? Did you really laugh? When you typed LOL, did you laugh? What does LOL stand for? Laugh out loud, right? You neither laughed nor was it out loud, but you said LOL so many times without laughing. If people can say LOL without laughing, they can easily say I love you without loving. Have you heard what I said? Be careful. It's a statement, it's just a word. Our parents and the previous generation, they loved each other more than we love our own spouses at times. Not once did we catch them saying I love you. They used to prove it through actions. We've become weaker because the change of generation and society, we want to hear it many times a day. I message my family every day, several times, telling them how much I love them. It's important. You need to say it. People want to hear it nowadays. But remember, it is easy to be deceived by those words when they are coming from the wrong person. Don't just say, he loves me, oh yes, wow, he doesn't. He just said it to you just like he's saying it to 25 other people. It's a fact. Look at this brother. He's honest to tell us, yeah, you are right, maybe not 25, there are 3. My beloved brother, you have to make a decision. My dearest sisters, it's more for you than for him. If this is the case with the brother, who's a good brother, he doesn't want to hurt when he has already hurt, then imagine what is happening to those whose supposed boyfriends are not even going to be this thoughtful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us all. And this could be happening either way. So obviously he will have to make a decision. There is no quick fix to come out of your mess, my beloved brother, besides what I suggested here, which is serious. If you get up, we can give you a few seconds to put your hand up, inshallah. La ilaha illallah. May Allah bless you. We are fortunate that at least we don't have the phone numbers. Otherwise I would have died, it would have rang, and it was over. Subhanallah. Or I would have said the phone number and then it was over, because they would know who it is. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us all success. We have another question. Is my salah acceptable if I don't know the meaning of the supplications I say and I have just memorized them? The answer is, while yes, it will be acceptable by mere memorization, you are strongly, very strongly encouraged not only to know what you are reading, but to try and think about that meaning while you are reading it. When you say Allahu Akbar, think of how you are saying Allah is the greatest. The worshipped one is the greatest. The one who made me is the greatest. When you are going to sujood, you are saying Subhana Rabbiyal A'la. Think of its meaning, how you are glorifying your Lord who is the highest, while you are in the position physically that is very, very low, meaning it is the lowest possible point you can put your head, which is the ground, but it is the highest in spirituality, and it is the closest you will ever get to your Maker. أَقْرَبُ مَا يَكُونُ الْعَبْدُ لِرَبِّهِ وَهُوَ سَاجِدٌ. The closest that a slave will get to his Rabb, yes, is while he is in sujood. May Allah help us to understand what we are saying in salah, and may we be from those who can try our best to concentrate on the meanings of that salah. A person is saying, I have just stopped the bad habit of watching porn and I don't wish to go back to it. Please, what can I do? Number one, you need to occupy yourself with that which is constructive in order to protect yourself from that which is destructive. So if you have just quit any bad habit that you feel you have achieved something, then you need to make sure you fill that void with something that is constructive. Learn to read the Quran every day for the duration that you used to perhaps do something wrong. Learn to actually occupy yourself by reading some good book, by dhikr, by perhaps listening to a good program. That time you spent watching something wrong, why don't you watch something that is right? So also you ask Allah for guidance and help, which means you make dua, and also you need to be steadfast as best as you can. Being steadfast is not easy. It requires a lot of patience and it requires dedication. To get up for salah initially is very difficult, but wallahi, when you get used to it, come time for salatul fajr, your eye will open without an alarm or a reminder. Why? Because you are used to getting up at that time. May Allah make us steadfast. Another very, personalized question, which is quite a private question that happens to be asked, and I need to say it, and I'll tell you why I need to say it. It says, Assalamu alaikum, I have not been intimate with my husband for over 2 years because he is tired all the time, even when I make a demand. I want to know Islamically what is the status of the marriage. Firstly, obviously it's a marriage that has a problem in it. It doesn't automatically nullify. If you want to apply for a nullification of the marriage, you have grounds by which you shall be granted that nullification, because being intimate with your spouse is one of your rights. It's one of the rights that you have. So if someone is not intimate with you, you have the right to apply for a nullification, but it does not automatically nullify. Some people say, if for 4 months you didn't, if you were not intimate for 4 months, then suddenly that marriage is dissolved. That is not true. That is not true. It doesn't automatically dissolve. But if you apply, they will study the matter, either the qadi, or in the case where there is no qadi, then the panel of scholars, etc. They will study the matter and they will issue you with a nullification. But at times, there is no need to break that marriage if we can resolve the matter. My beloved brothers and sisters, the Prophet ﷺ told us that to be intimate with your spouse is an act of worship known as a sadaqah. It's a charity. It's an act of worship. To be intimate with your spouse, to satisfy him or her, is actually an act of worship. We are Muslims. We are proud to mention that. You need to make sure that your spouse is satisfied. And you need to do it as an act where you know you are earning closeness to Allah. La ilaha illallah. Why is it? Initially, when you are married, very newly married, it might be novelty, you might be excited, you know, it's good, and you are just fulfilling a desire without thinking it's an act of worship. Wait until a few days, years pass, etc. A child comes 2, 3, 4. The person still has needs, especially the women. Sometimes they have changed a little bit because they've given birth to your own children. That little change sometimes makes men who do not fear Allah, who are not true Muslims, it makes them back off because they think, now you are not that pretty, now you are developing wrinkles, and now you know what, I think I'll go for someone else who is younger, etc., etc. You know what? No matter what you do, you need to realize you are also becoming older. If you are putting up with someone you think is becoming older, they are putting up with you who is also becoming older. You need to realize that. Number 2, if they had these children, they had them for you. Number 3, you need to know, just like you have desires, she also has desires. And if you are not going to fulfill your desires with her, where is it going to be fulfilled? Therefore, both ways, it is true. If you don't fulfill her desires, where do you expect her to fulfill? If she is a God-fearing woman like this one who is asking, she will tell you, 2 years I haven't been intimate. I will actually call that brother and lash him in public. Subhanallah. How could you do that? May Allah protect us. I see some of the men are just looking at me like, you will lashing me, you know. Inshallah, I hope they are not in our crowd. It is an act of worship. What is the point of the whole world's women thinking you're a big deal, and your own woman, you haven't even satisfied her? La ilaha illallah. The Prophet ﷺ says, "Fi budu'i ahadikum sadaqa." When you fulfill your base desire in the correct way, it is an act of charity. I said that moments ago. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum were quite surprised, just like you might be surprised when I said it is an ibadah. It is a what? Ibadah. So, amazingly, they asked, "O Messenger, peace be upon him, one of us literally has sex with his wife and we are getting a reward for it?" So the Prophet ﷺ said, "Do you know, or do you see, if you were to put your organ into haram, would you not be earning a sin?" They said, "Yes, we would be earning a sin." He said, "In the same way, if you put it in halal, you will be earning a reward." So number 1, you do it which is halal. Number 2 is you're fulfilling the desires of someone in a halal way, saving them from haram, saving them from so much. Do you know what? It also keeps your mind at ease, your sanity. Another thing, it keeps you young. It keeps you, one might argue, how? You know what? Get married and fulfill your rights of each other properly and see how you will be so happy with each other. Subhanallah. It keeps you in a good shape as well. Subhanallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us goodness and ease. So it's a topic many don't like to discuss, but the reason why we have to say it is because the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, spoke about it in public. It was relayed to us in a public fashion in a hadith. I am proud to be able to mention these ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ. In fact, in another lecture, I spoke about an old man who was the imam in one of the masjids in South Africa. When he was after many years, one day he was a minute or two late for Salatul Fajr. You know how the people are in some of these big masjids where the person who is probably the waqif or someone of the committee, if they are there, they would always have something to say to the imam. That imam was a minute or two late after so many years. He knew that this is going to be a qiyamah for me. He knew it's going to be trouble for me because these people are going to say, why were you late? Right? How could you have been late? They don't look at the fact that I came early for 20 years and now I'm late one day. You know what he told them? Brothers, before you jump to conclusions, let me tell you, don't blame me for being late. I was busy in one ibadah and I've come to another. Did you get that? La ilaha illallah. From one ibadah to another. You know, initially they didn't understand. He clarified it a little bit more, which I'm not going to say. But after that, all the young boys used to look at him and say, this imam is serious. He's old. He's old, but he's not cold. La ilaha illallah. May Allah grant us ease. Wallahi. May Allah grant us ease. Islam is beautiful. We talk about these things because women are suffering in silence. What's the point of a man saying, I have 4 wives? And the first one is crying because why? Ever since you got the second or third, you've just forgotten. It's over. It's like, how are you going to face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? What are you doing? And I'm talking about a difficulty we are facing in Nigeria. So many people are asking questions. And sometimes you know the man, la ilaha illallah, you're looking at him, big burly man, and you are thinking, but your wife is, oh, shake my hand so strong, but you can't shake your wife. If you shook her a little bit, she would have a walima the next day. La ilaha illallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us ease. Allah protect us. So this is a topic that needs discussion. Wallahi, let's not fear. We need to come out. The sisters are suffering in silence. Wallahi. The ibadah, the real ibadah is sometimes when you don't really want to do something, but you know that you have to and you know that it has to come from you and you get it done in a beautiful way. Trust me, you can even earn Jannatul Firdaus in that way. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us forgiveness. I think I spoke very long on that matter, right? Was it an important matter? The men are saying yes louder than the women. Allahu Akbar. May Allah forgive us. Okay. Does one have to do istikhara on marriage suitors he or she does not like at all? The answer is no. Did you hear what I said? Istikhara is when you are confused. If you are not confused, you don't need to do istikhara. Right? Or if you do istikhara, Allah will not just show you a dream or something. People rely on dreams more than they rely on reality. You said in the dua, oh Allah, if this is good for me, make it easy for me and give me barakah in it. If this is bad for me, take it away from me, take me away from it and make me happy with your decision. So if Allah closes the doors one after the other, that is the response of your istikhara. Allah closed the door. And if Allah opens the doors one after the other, that is the response of your istikhara. You want a job and you make istikhara and the next day you get a phone call to say, you know, we are doubling up the offer we have and the salary is now going to be double. Is that a positive or a negative sign? Positive sign. It's Allah telling you, you made istikhara, come, we are showing you a good sign, go for it. Subhanallah. So, if you really don't want the job, what's the point of doing an istikhara? If you really don't want to marry the person, that's it, it's over. You can't say, you're mother of my children, I didn't want to marry you, but I did istikhara, it came positive, I married you. So now just live with me, sit here. That's when you have the problem of that 2-year intimacy, la ilaha illallah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us an understanding. So I hope that has clarified that particular question. Another one about spouses. How does someone know that this is the right spouse for you even when you are young, right? You know what? You will never know completely with 100% certainty that this is the right spouse and it's going to work. Sometimes we are quite confident that this is the right spouse. Allah might put a feeling, you might have a good feeling, you might get married and things will go wrong. It all has to do with your closeness to Allah. If you happen to have the same focus in life, I want to please Allah, you want to please Allah, I am ready to sacrifice and you are ready to sacrifice, the marriage will work. It's the right spouse. People think, I saw a pretty girl, let me marry her. What was your reason? She was what? Pretty. All women are pretty in their own right. All men are handsome in their own right. Allah has created all of us with different likes and tastes. Sometimes you see a person, one man looks away, and another person says, I want to marry this woman. It's possible. Allah has created everyone with different likes and dislikes. In some countries, they need to feed you boiled potatoes until you are 75 kilos as a woman before they can even consider you for marriage in some cultures. And in other cultures, they look at you, if you are more than 45 kilos, they're not interested in marrying. That's their own system. For us, you look at the deen of the person, the character of the person. Yes, you look at what they look like too. It needs to be acceptable. If there is something perhaps you might not really like, it's not like we are aiming at 100%, but anything between what we would consider 80 to 100 is good, it's excellent. In fact, maybe a little bit less, 75 to 100. MashaAllah, you will, if you have 10 things you like in a woman or in a man to look for, you don't need to tick all 10. The first tick needs to be the deen. If the deen is right, you can look at the character, you can look at other things. The deen means character and deen put together, okay? If that is ticked, then you can decide to look at other things. But if that is not ticked, no matter how many ticks the others have, it's the wrong person. Do you get what we're saying? Because initially when you marry for prettiness. You did not consider the fact that someone is going to need to sacrifice here. We will both have to sacrifice. When we have children, I hope this will be the best mother of my kids. But no, when you married her, you found her in a condition where she was not even fit to be responsible alone, let alone having kids and having that responsibility. So you may never know that this is definitely the right person. But this is why we say, seek guidance from your parents. The role of parents is huge. Many of us are not interested in our parents, and many parents are not interested in their kids. Have a good relation with your children so that they will guide, meaning they will seek guidance from you and you will be able to guide them. My dear mother, you know what? There is a boy that I see at university every day. I really think he's a good guy. Why don't you look into this matter? Please talk to dad. Please do this. Please do. What do you think? But after you have developed a whole relationship and they are already abusing you and you don't even know, and one day you are so scared to say, I don't know how to release it to my father or my mother. But we are sexually active. We have had abortions. We have had so many other things and they don't even know. Your mother and father are busy thinking you are a very pious child going to university, dressed in such a modest way and coming back every day on time. To them, parents would never believe what their children get up to. You know what? It's only when you have a good relationship with your child that you will be able to contribute towards their decision making. And my beloved children, your parents don't hate you. They don't hate you. At times, some of them can be excused, because I know yesterday someone was complaining to me to say, you know what? We still have an old school that believes it is wrong to marry anyone besides your cousins or your relatives. Wallahi, there is no recommendation in Islam to say that you have to marry a cousin or a relative. No recommendation in Islam to say you have to marry a cousin or a relative. In fact, if you were to study carefully, it is recommended to go away, to go further. Your genes will be stronger. Am I right or wrong? You know of sickle cell, you know of so many other diseases. Many of them, check, they are connected to too many close marriages. It is not haram to marry. It is not haram to marry your cousin. It is not haram to marry a relative of yours. But it doesn't mean that if you don't want to marry or you want to marry someone further away, that people need to block you because one of your cousins is not yet married. That is now jahiliyyah. That is ignorance. It is happening in our societies. We want our children to marry good people. Sometimes they will find a better person than whom we have suggested. Yesterday I spoke about it, how many people are having affairs. If you were to ask them why are they having affairs, they will tell you, I was never in love with this woman whom I was compelled to marry, or this man whom I was compelled to marry simply because it's my cousin, or it's my relative, or they are from my tribe, or they are from my part of the country, etc., etc. My heart was somewhere else. I would like to call the father and the mother and give them a little bit of advice to say, you know what you did was wrong. Imagine someone comes to you after 2 or 3 kids and tells you, I never wanted to marry you. I was in love with that man. That man, how? My brother, my sister, let it happen. Allah will bless you. Unless the person is evil. This is why I tell the children, get the advice of your parents. If they have a valid reason and a valid point, you must always listen to what they have to say. if they are being tribalistic, racist, whatever else, if they are picking on something that is un-Islamic, you have the right to excuse them. You even have the right to seek the help of a qadi, or perhaps of the imam of the masjid, or someone else, depending on the community you are living in order to help you achieve what you want. Obviously, I'm not encouraging that, but under certain circumstances, it does happen. I know of a young girl who, subhanallah, not in this country, but the father was just refusing for no reason whatsoever, absolutely no reason whatsoever. And you know what she ended up doing? She ended up going to get the assistance of a qadi, and the qadi ruled against the father, and he assumed that wilaya himself and got the girl married. And the father said, we are not going to talk to you ever again. They didn't talk to her for a while. The minute she had one child, the child had grown a little bit. And one day the grandfather of the child, who's the father of the girl, saw this child somewhere. Who is this little child? Looks like me. He said, yes, it's your grandchild. Come here, come here. Problem was solved. Why? Your heart softened. You realized my daughter is happy. The guy is a good guy. They now have children. Everything is okay. And alhamdulillah, the heart was opened. You realized. There are some parents who will never, ever, ever look at you or your kids. They will consider you poison. They will excommunicate you. If they could, they would also exclude you from inheritance against the will of Allah. They wouldn't mind the kufr, but their pride was too much for them. They said, why did you do this? Against my will. Never should you set foot again here. What authoritarianism is that? Who do you think you are? Soften up. You have also made mistakes. If Allah had to deal with you the way you dealt with your daughter, you would be the first one in Jahannam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala safeguard us. I think I have answered quite a lot of questions. Do I have any more time? Time is over. I can answer 3 more questions in Hausa. Is it fine? Inshallah. Okay, let's go for it. Next time, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك